Hello and welcome all. This is CA Bhavesh Mittal and CA Mannu Kashliwal right here to give you some views on the time limit for issuing e-invoice. Yes, my friends, you have been listening this for the very first time. Now, e-invoice, generation of e-invoice will have time limit appended to it. Please note, earlier there was no provision, no legal backing, no provisions which were giving a mandate that e-invoice should be generated within a specified time limit. However, due to certain circumstances, GST and portal has issued an advisory where they are telling some concepts about the time limit for generation of e-invoicing. Friends, when I was in Delhi in 2019, I made one video that portal cannot govern the law. But unfortunately, today I will be making a video that portal is governing the law. So, can you please move on to the next slide? Yeah. So, let us tell me about this advisory. This advisory has been issued on 13th 4 2023. This is the updated one. Before that, some other advisory was also issued. In this, they are telling that for the taxpayers whose aggregate annual turnover is more than 100 crore, less than 100 crore, out. But this video would be relevant for you because they will reduce the time limit in near future. So, more than 100 crore turnover from 1st May, you have to generate e-invoice without doubt because more than 10 crore generation of e-invoice is mandatory. But for people more than 100 crore turnover, they will have to generate the e-invoice within 7 days. As of now, there is no provision in the law. As on today, also there is no provision in the law that time which tells us about the time limit of doing e-invoicing. But today, on 13th 4 2023, they have issued an advisory that e-invoice has to be generated within 7 days. But this is just an advisory. Mr. Mannu will guide you on the legal implication of the same. In the earlier advisory, they told that credit note and debit note, this time limit will not apply even for more than 100 crore turnover people. But yes, in the updated advisory, they realized why to exclude credit note and debit note, and they made this restriction applicable for credit note and debit note also. So over to Manu Bhai for taking it further on legal aspects. But yes, from 1st May 2023, portal will cast this restriction. Let us see whether some notification comes or not. As on today, there is no notification. Manu Bhai.
Thank you, Bhavesh. So, moving on, as we have understood that for people above 100 crores, this particular advisory is applicable. That is applicable from 1st May 23 and for invoices, debit notes, and credit notes. Now, what could be the action points that the entity above 100 crores should keep in mind? So, first, since it is applicable from 1st May 2023, so till 30th April, one has to reconcile their sales register with their invoicing register, that is the IRN report, and whatever invoices or whichever invoices which doesn't have IRN attached to it, then you have to generate the IRN, and so that the reconciliation is done. Then from 1st May onwards, you have to keep your internal control so strong that whenever you are issuing the original invoice, right away you also issue the IRN attached to it. Obviously, if you're following the practice of e-way bill, once you issue invoice via a ERP system and then IRN is attached to it and e-way bill is generated automatically, that particular system is advisable and suggested. However, those people who have not been doing that for whatever reasons, now they are bound to do it so that their business is in control, and further they are not losing any any money in terms of penalties for such practices. Further, for people who are below 100 crores, they also need to come in line, because as we have seen the trend of e-invoicing, first it starts with a particular threshold, then it comes down to lower thresholds as well. So people below 100 crores will be soon coming under the radar, and they have to start their internal control in this manner. Further, in case your vendors have not given you an e-invoice for the invoices or for the purchases that you have made for the previous financial year, is 22-23 and onwards, now you have to reconcile your purchases with your IRN report, where you have not you have to reconcile the invoices with their IRN report, where the e-invoices have not been received by you. You have to keep in mind that those invoices are actually not valid. Yes, they are not valid as per the law. The law is very clear that for those suppliers who are eligible for e-invoicing, that is above 10 crores. So mostly all categories of vendors of yours for an entity of 100 plus crores would be falling under those category. And for those category of above 10 crores, they are actually under the radar of e-invoicing. And if they are not issuing you e-invoice, that particular invoice is invalid. And mind you, if you are taking credit on the basis of those invoices, then that credit is questionable and could be held as ineligible as per section 16 subsection A. That is the first condition of taking the ITC. Last but not the least, there are some checkpoints and consequences. Bhavesh, would you like to highlight something?
Just to interrupt, this invoicing is mandatory on the vendor side as well as on your side, because once it is not an invoice and you are required to make an invoice, certainly it will lead to consequences like ITC denial or e-way bill. The goods could be confiscated during the movement, etc., etc. Manu bhai.
Yes. So, first of all, there could be one question that, okay, what could be the legal validity of a GST and advisory? But before coming into that note, it is advisable that maybe in sidelines, government are expecting to issue a notification to this regard, maybe before the 1st of May. And definitely, once this notification comes into act, this particular advisory will be enforceable under law. And the department and GSTN both have mentioned that this particular advisory is coming before time, because they want us to be prepared from 1st May itself, and they want us to issue all those pending e-invoices which have not been reported yet as per the sales register and as per your purchase register, whatever the scenario is. Now, the common areas where e-invoicing could have been missed, these are just suggested areas. Definitely there could be more. One is that if you are a goods supplier vendor, services invoice in terms of commission invoice and other areas could have been missed for the year-end invoices. Credit notes, debit notes, definitely there are many types of credit notes, debit notes for discounts, post-sale discounts, any kind of discounts, sales returns. If they have not been matched with your IRN number, then you have to issue the e-invoice. Cross-charge for the common expenses, where if you are dealing if you are having some common expenses and group companies are there where they are having some cross-charge scenarios, then cross-charge invoice should be billed with IRN. Then supplies of goods where there is no movement of goods and there's a supply invoice, then definitely those scenarios could have been missed. And yes, if there is any type of sale of fixed assets in the financial year and where you have not issued an invoice, now it's the right time to issue an invoice with IRN, that is e-invoice. And the consequences, as Bhavesh has told you, that number one, obviously your ITC could be questioned, and definitely there is a backing of the act for it. We cannot question section 16 subsection A, which says that you have to have a possession of a valid tax invoice, and valid tax invoice automatically turns into a e-invoice. Number two, if you are not raising e-invoice, definitely there are penalties for that under section 125 for not raising correct invoice.
Also
Before
129
moving
for
into the penalties, number one thing that you have to identify is that whether you would continue the present practice or you have to change to a new practice of internal control. And this advisory is looking more rigorous, and definitely you should try to reconcile at the end of 30th April and start with issuing e-invoices on a daily basis. Yes, Bhavesh.
So with this, we would like to close and hope this video would be really helpful to you. And invoicing in future would be really important area of department, government. They would be reconciling in your sales with the invoice, corresponding GST to be with the invoice. Don't take it lightly. If the notification comes, you have to comply. If notification does not comes, better comply it. With this, we would like to close. Thanks a ton for watching this video. You may write us to Manu bhai and me in case of any queries. Thank you so much.